Okay, make sure audio is working. Audio, are you working? Wonderful. Audio is working. Alrighty. So we get some materials ready here, and we'll be on the way. About time. I've been here for 10 to 20 seconds. I'm so sorry, Dylan. Alright. I think I'll use these and that stuff. Oh, I hate you muted. Been trying to figure out why I couldn't hear anything. Oh, I probably have you muted. I'm like, yeah, I hope you can hear me because I have my mic on. At least it's supposed to be on. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Today, I'm painting some pet store terrain. This is just like what you'd go to Petco and buy for your fish aquarium, or maybe a lizard cage, or who knows what. Maybe a frog's just a little dusty. I'm getting the dust off. Maybe a frog could live with this thing. But we're going to use it for wargaming terrain, because when it's on sale, it's super cheap and looks pretty good. But this pet store paint job does not look so good, so we're going to fix that. Do you think I can fit everything in a 22-foot truck? Because I'm having second thoughts about 26-foot truck plus a trailer. Well, Mr. Off Topic, I don't know. I'm sure we can talk about that when I'm not painting. Alright. So I'm going to start with Steel Legion Drab. And this is going to be all about dry brushing. And then we're going to come in with some flock and some tufts and fix it right up. This is perfectly on topic with what matters. Wow, okay. So I'm using a makeup brush today. This is maybe an Eco Tools brand makeup brush. I'm not particular to any brand really, but Eco Tools is what Walmart had when I went and bought some more, so that's what we used. So I'm just getting the Steel Legion Drab on my brush here, and then I'm tapping most of it off. And then I'm just going to come here and start dry brushing. This will be the heaviest of the dry brushes, because this is obviously the base coat here, so we want it to be, we want it to color the stone the most. And we're going to cover up the Petco at the end, so don't worry about that. Right now we will be, this will bring out the Petco significantly, as you can see, but we'll cover it up and it won't be a problem. And I'm going to try to keep this on camera as much as possible, but it is quite a large miniature, so if I accidentally pull it off camera, I'm sorry. Now on these first couple layers, it doesn't really matter if it's an even coat or not. Some places it can be heavier, some places it can be lighter. Not a big deal. I just want to make sure that I don't leave too many of the dark gray or black flat surfaces, so I'm making sure to stab the brush down onto the piece to make sure that we cover the bigger areas there. So we're just going to go all the way around it until we have it nice and colored. I say keep the Petco. It can stand for the grave of St. Petcomorph. Huh. Yeah, I'll give that a thought. Thanks for that. Thanks for that suggestion. 10 out of 10. Alright, so now we're going to get these pillars. We're going to do we're going to do 4 dry brush passes on this model. So if we don't cover every single one with the first color, The next 3 will get it, and it'll be fine. But yeah, the pet store is a great place to find this stuff. I think they do it once a year. They might do it twice a year, though. The pet store here, is that a PetSmart? I think it's a PetSmart. They do a sale. It's like maybe it's a summer sale or I can't remember. I think it's a summer sale. But basically all the stuff that they're kind of getting rid of, but not getting rid of, but like the stuff that they're replacing with new stuff goes on sale at massive discounts. And that is your chance to go get some of this stuff, because they'll chuck out some of the terrain looking stuff that's been there forever, put it out there for like 75% off, and that's when you gotta pounce. You can get a whole table's worth of terrain for super cheap. I think I missed some chat here. Guardian of the Storefront, Slayer of the Kraken. Bit of an oxymoron, LOL, large miniature. Yeah, quite a large miniature, to be honest. One of the phrases that the people who worked on the Lord of the Rings movies, who did a lot of miniature work, they had to build miniatures that were huge, and so they started calling them bigatures, because they were miniature scale, but they were quite large. So maybe we can call this that. This can be a bigature. Although theirs were like room size, so I don't know. But it's quite a bit bigger than like a dude, though, who I would normally be painting. A dude is quite a different size. So, all right. So then some people do this differently, but what I like to do is if you get this makeup brush wet, you will be drying it for the next 5 minutes or so, maybe longer. So normally you'd rinse your brush, dry it off, all that kind of stuff. What I like to do when I'm dry brushing with a bunch of colors and I don't want to spend the time wetting this brush down, drying it off, and it takes forever, unlike a normal paintbrush. So I just get a clean paper towel and I just wipe as much of the extra off as I can. And then when I'm done, so after the stream, I'll go wash this brush in the sink with some Dawn and make sure that all the color is out of it. But for now, I just want to get as much of it out of the bristles as possible so I can dip it in the next color. And you don't have to get it all off because it's not going to contaminate this pot with just this tiny little amount, and it's going to be all mixed on the pot anyway, or on the piece anyway. So now we're going to Rackhearth Flesh, and we're going to do the same thing. Just get some and then tap it off. Make sure the bristles are nice and coated with this, though. And then what we're going to do, instead of what we were doing before, where we just like going all over, stabbing it in, we're just going to move in one direction. And I'm going to pick this direction. And I'm just going to start going across it like this. And I'm never going to move my brush in any other direction except that. On the whole piece. No matter what I'm doing, I'm only going back and forth like this. That means pillars, so I'm going back and forth. So here's the difference. So this is with the second coat, or the second paint color on it. There's the first. So there you can see the difference. We're really starting to get that definition of the rock in there. So I'm going to get some more paint. Make sure the bristles are nice and coated. Tap the extra off and then come back, and keeping in the same direction, never changing directions. And this is going to help with the texture, keeping in the same direction, because we will then choose a different direction for the next color. And so we'll have this color moving, or not moving, but creating different levels of texture, because they won't just all look like we went across the miniature. Which is what we want. We don't want it to just look like we painted the miniature. We want the miniature to look like it's an actual thing. Or at least from 4 or 3 feet away to look like an actual thing. Make sure to get up here as well. This, unfortunately, isn't the greatest thing to hold on to, because there's not really a base. We're painting the entire thing, but still moving in the same direction, just back and forth here. And some of these edges, because we're only moving this way, are not going to be caught when we do this. But when we get our next color and go the other way, they will be caught, and that's what we want. Making sure to get all the surfaces here. Get the side of that, and then we'll get the top. Alright. That looks good, I think. We're just going to get a little bit more up here. Not quite heavy enough up there. There we go. Alright, so now we're going to go to our third color, Screaming Skull. But again, we're going to take our brush and a clean paper towel and wipe off as much of the second color as we can. Make sure our brush is nice and dry, no wet paint on it. And then we're going to go into Screaming Skull. Same as the last two colors, just tap most of it off, but make sure the bristles are nice and coated. Alright, so then, whereas before we went across the miniature, now we're going to go up and down the miniature. And in fact, I'm just going to go down. I'm not going to sweep my brush up. I'm only going to catch the tops of things with this. So if I were to go like this, up and down, I'd get, for instance, the bottom ridge of this cap here, and I don't want that. I only want to get the tops. So I'm just going to come down the pillars, come down the stairs. Really want to get some nice contrast on this, so go a little heavier than I did on the first one. There we go. You can start to see some of that contrast appearing there now. We just want to do this on the other side as well. This, we're going to go, even though it's counterintuitive to the grain we've been using, this pillar used to be upright and now has fallen over, so we're going to paint it using the same angle as if it had been standing. All right, then we'll get a little bit more paint. And we'll just do the tops up here. There we go, and a little more down here, I think. There we go. That looks good. So now we've got our 3 shades there, and so we're gonna again flip over to a clean piece of paper towel, wipe as much of this paint off as we can. And then move on to our fourth and final color of this dry brushing step, and that's Pallid Witch Flesh. So this is almost a pure white, but not exactly a pure white. I guess I'd call it like a pure gray. It's very close to white, but just barely not. So we're going to again tap most of this off, and then what we're going to do is just come to the very extreme edges of this and just gently touch it with this brush. But we're going to pick a new angle, so we're going to go with a kind of a 45-degree angle in this case. So I'm just going to do this. This is just going to bring a little bit of a sharper color to some of these ridges. And it may not even be noticeable on camera, to be honest. But in person, it will be noticeable. You'd notice it if it wasn't there, I'll say that. If I painted 2 and left this step off of 1, you'd be able to tell. There we go. Maybe a little more over here. Alright, that'll do. So then, we have this brush here that I still have more to do on this piece, but it's got paint on it, and I don't want to get up and wash it off in the sink, even though that's what needs to happen, so I just have a cup of clean water over here off camera, and I just chuck it in there until I'm done with the current painting, and then I get up and make sure to wash it out and dry it out. So, we've done all our dry brushing. Let's see. Let's check chat real quick. Packed all my paints away. Very unlike me. It's 1:15 a.m. here in UK and work tomorrow, so gotta bail. Catch you soon. Bye, guys. Thanks for watching. And good luck with work tomorrow. So, we've done all our dry brushing. And now, we can move on to some... Well, we have a couple choices. We can move on to some ink wash. Or we can go into some foliage and moss and stuff. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some, yeah, we'll use this. Some Agrellan Earth right here. This is Games Workshop Crackle Paint. And what we're going to do with this is take our little hobby spatula here and get some of this out. I'm just going to go right over this Petco stuff here with this, fill it right in. Just like that. Leave that to dry for a little while and possibly put a second layer on if we need to, but I'm not sure we'll need to. There we go. I'm just going to clean it up a little bit with this paper towel. So we don't need tons of it on there. That'll work. Alright, then we're going to do some foliage. So, for that, we're going to get out our very special Elmer's school glue. And we're going to use the hobby spatula again. And then we're going to get some of this glue, and we're just going to find an edge here where some stones are meeting, and we're just going to put this glue in there like that. And we're just going to do this kind of haphazardly all around the miniature. We'll do it in sections though, so that it's not ridiculous to handle. And I'll probably actually only do this side on stream, just because I won't have any place to hold on to the miniature with this drawing. So I'll do this half on stream, and then I'll have to do the other half off stream. Just go in there, and if there's too much above a crack, I'll just wipe it off with my fingers real quick. Because we only want this stuff settling in the recesses of this rock. So that looks about good, I think. Maybe some right there. Alright, so we've got our paint or our glue in there. Then just get some piece of paper. I'm not sure what this AAA ad in this case. Sounds good. Junk mail. It's a great use for this, what we're about to do. So then I'm going to take some Army Painter grass green flock. It's green sawdust basically. And I'm just going to sprinkle it over the glue that we just put on. And I'm just going to tap it in the direction. So pushing it, having it pushed down onto the glue to hopefully get in there really good. Then we'll get off the extra. Give it a couple taps. blow off the extra. And then we come back and we're left with that. So we've got a nice overgrown looking set of stairs here, and we'll just continue on with this. Do a couple more passes. Then maybe add some tufts for a little bit taller grass. And then we'll call it. Not a very long stream today. But, I mean, as I've said before, when the miniature's done, the miniature's done. You don't have to force paints onto a miniature that is completed. If you're happy with it, it looks like how you want, then you can be done, no matter how long it took you. Miniature painting does not have to take you forever. Some people like to obsess over a miniature, and I don't say obsess in a negative way at all. Just spend a lot of time on each miniature and make sure it's as perfect as they want it to be. But you absolutely don't have to do that. If you want to knock out a miniature in 20 minutes, do it. So just get some more of that down there. And we'll get some under this pillar. And let's see, under this, I think, just a little bit there. Just trying to think of where some grass or some moss or something might accumulate. Just up around these pillars, maybe. And maybe some up here. And a little more of a spread out pattern there. And then a little bit right here in front. There we go. Alright. So then we just bring our excess piece of paper over here. And we'll go on this side first. Just dump it on. Tap it down. Make sure it's on that glue pretty well. And then just tap off the excess. Blow it off. And then go on to this side. We'll do the same thing. There we go. And tap off the extra. All right. And there we go. There's one side of our overgrown temple. We could put some up here, and we might actually. Let's see. Would that make sense? Yeah, I think a little bit of moss would be growing up there, maybe. So let's do that. We'll just do a little bit up there, not as much as down here on the side. And actually, I'm going to do some moss as if it's grown up one of the pillars. Kind of like that. Yeah. And I'll put a little bit in these cracks up here. Maybe some up there. And then some right up here. And this is really, if you were doing something similar to this, just personal preference, really. How much moss you want and how much you don't. So being careful where to hold this, because this glue is not dry yet, obviously. So I'll do this pillar first. Just make sure to cover that completely. And then I'll do the spots up here. Alright, so there we go. Got some moss growing up the side now. We've got a little bit of moss growing up in here. Now the last thing we're going to do is, well, first we're going to take all this excess on our piece of paper and very carefully pour it back into our cup here. There we go. Then we're going to take some grass that more or less matches the color of our flock here. And I'm just going to find my tweezers. Grab these. And when I'm working with PVA glue, Sometimes I'll still use super glue, but I like to use PVA glue to stick the tufts down also, because sometimes the super glue when it dries will stain the flock around it. So if I'm trying to be careful, I'll just use PVA glue, which I know won't hurt this flock at all. So I'm just going to stick some of these down as a little bit of tall grass in a couple places. As you can see, these tufts are basically the identical color to our sawdust. Pull this in here, and I'll put one in there. Sometimes they can be a little tricky to get where you want to sit them, but I'll do 2 more on this side. I'll do some more on the other side when I do that, but like I said, I'm just going to do this side on stream so I still have somewhere to hold. So I don't want to be handling this side that we've just done while doing the other side and rubbing all this off, because the glue, like I said, is not dry. So I'll put another one right up here. Make sure it blends nicely into the flock. And there we go. So as you can see, there's some of the little tufts hanging out in there. We could put some other different color ones in there, but for just a single piece of terrain that's going to be on the board with many other pieces of terrain, I think this will do just fine. We've got some color variation. The brown stone looks a lot better than the gray stone, at least in my opinion. And we've got some moss there for some color variation. I think it looks good. So like I said, a little bit of a shorter stream today, but when it's done, it's done. So thank you everybody for watching. I'll be back on Wednesday at 8 o'clock, painting something probably smaller than this, but you never know. Something might jump out at me that I have to paint. We'll see. And then coming up pretty soon here, I will have the videos and probably on stream some, the Soulblight Gravelords that are on pre-order currently, so that'll be exciting. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching, and I will see you next time.